Hi everyone, it's the 9th of September 2022 and I just wanted to get a few, or just one actually, housekeeping is like everyone that's listening to this video or watching it, can you just subscribe to my channel? I'll put a link down below. I'd really appreciate it because if I get more subscribers, I can try and get more people on the channel to talk about their books or health. So I'd really appreciate it if you like and subscribe. So today I've got Doreen, hi Dors, and Tanya, hi. And we're going to talk about, which I'm obsessed with, is vitamin D and the importance of vitamin D for everyone. So I'll start with you, Dors. Just if you could tell everyone why vitamin D is so important.
Okay. We have got vitamin D receptors probably on most tissues within our body. So that virtually says that every part of our body that we're using needs vitamin D. So, for example, vitamin D, its main role is to absorb calcium from our food and that comes in. And without the vitamin D, only about 10 to 15% of calcium is absorbed. So calcium needs vitamin D to be absorbed, but we also need it for bones. We need it for our bones, support our immune system, for our heart, for our endocrine, our hormones, protects us from oxidative stress. So for insulin secretion, for our thyroid. So virtually every part of what we do, we need vitamin D. So it's extremely important.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. So Tanya, like, how would you know if you were deficient in it? Like, what are the signs?
Yeah, because we need it for our immunity. If we're getting colds and flus, or we're getting a virus or infection that won't go away, so if we're not healing properly, that might be a sign. If we're fatigued, because it's linked to mitochondrial health, we need it for energy. So that could be a sign. If we're getting muscle cramps and aches, even depression or seasonal affective disorder. So during winter, it's actually, I can't remember the percentage of people that it affects, but it's, it affects your mood disorder. So just by not getting enough sunlight, so that could be a deficiency, and also poor sleep. So, and as Doreen said, like, we need it for our endocrine function. So we need it for thyroid. So if our thyroid levels are low, or our insulin, that could be a sign of deficiency.
Right. So is that when you said a seasonal sadness?
Yeah.
Do you think it could be like low vitamin D? Like, are they going to that conclusion now instead of saying like it's just a psychological thing because it's dark outside?
Oh, yeah.
No, it's so much more.
Yeah.
It is definitely vitamin D, but also the light too. They did a study, and within 7 days of just getting the white light from the sun, it lifted the seasonal disorder. So yeah, it's been proven. They've done a lot of case studies on it. So
right,
yeah, definitely,
so
we need it.
The light on your eyes as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dors, we've talked about this before, is how do you know if you've got enough vitamin D? What is the optimal level? So I think I've got enough vitamin D. I feel good. I haven't been sick for ages. But can I get more vitamin D? That's what I'm trying to ask you.
Okay. It's very rare to have vitamin D toxicity, in all honesty, and the only way you would get toxicity is if you are over supplementing with vitamin D. Naturally, being out in the sun, you're not going to absorb more than you need. And with food, you can get some vitamin D, but most of it is from the sun. Right. So the best way, if you've got a patient, or you've got someone who's on lots of medications, someone who gets sick all the time, maybe someone who's depressed, someone who has got heart issues, I would go and get them checked, their vitamin D levels. As a naturopath, what we say, levels should be about 100 to 120, whereas the medical society say anything above 50, they're happy with.
Okay.
So the only way you can really tell is if you've got all those symptoms. So if you do have someone with any of those conditions, or someone who's got lots of medication, someone who's got gut issues as well, I would get them to go get their vitamin D tested, because it is so critical for every functioning of their body virtually.
Right. And do men, like the levels change for men and women? Do men need more? Do women need more?
Look, women,
and ages differ?
Look, what they're showing is the amount of vitamin D that you get when you are younger affects your calcium absorption and your bone mineralization, chances of osteoporosis later on in life. Generally, women have got more adipose tissue, so more visceral fat around their stomachs. And with the adipose tissue, that decreases the amount of vitamin D that is stored in your body. Okay. So if you look at it, so women probably have less vitamin D, but only because they've probably got more adipose tissue. So we need the same amount, and it's just important to go and get checked.
So what does it get stuck in the stomach fat?
In your fat cells. So in your adipose tissue, into your enterocytes, it gets stuck in there and it doesn't absorb out.
Oh,
yeah.
Another great reason.
So that's why it's a risk for, the main risk, people who are at risk are people who are overweight, people who have got dark skin, who are on lots of medications, people who've got celiac or different gut issues. They're people that we really need to be concerned about.
Okay. Tanya, so if someone found out that they're getting sick during winter, they found out that it's a vitamin D issue, what would you suggest? I know it's hard getting it through food, but what are the types of food that have a lot of vitamin D in them?
Yeah, so oily fish is the best, but you can also get it from liver, beef, and also egg yolks and mushrooms that have been left in the sun. So oily fish is probably the best way to get it through your diet. Yeah.
So if someone, for example, were in Sweden and they eat a lot of oily fish, would they have enough, or would the light be an issue too? Like you should really get sunlight as well?
Yes, you definitely need sunlight as well. Yes. And that varies depending on the person. So depending how much melanin they have in their skin. So if they've got darker skin, it can be, the production can be reduced by as much as 99%. So depending on how dark their skin is, they're not going to absorb as much vitamin D through the skin as someone who's got fair skin. So it's really hard to say how long you should be in the sun for. Yeah, it depends on so many different factors.
Right. Okay.
Probably the best way is early in the morning, if you can. In Sweden, so it depends on when you've got that window.
Yeah.
Getting the sunlight or the UV from the sun is going to be the best, because absorption from food is quite limited. You're only getting, I think it's about 10 to 15% or maybe 20% of vitamin D is absorbed through your food.
Okay. So, and that is if you've got a perfect gut.
Yes. So yeah, if you've got issues with your small intestine and you're not absorbing, because that's where your vitamin D is absorbed, through your small intestine. So if you've got issues there, you're not going to absorb it. If you are not producing enough bile production, that's going to stop absorption. If you've got inflammatory bowel disease, I think Doreen mentioned it before, Crohn's and celiac disease, that can affect the absorption. And also, if you've got any diseases of the liver or kidney, that's going to affect the ability to activate the vitamin D into an active form so your body can use it.
Okay. So if, for instance, people they couldn't get their levels up and they were eating all the right foods, going in the sun, but they needed to get it up quickly because they were getting sick quite often in winter, or they had a cough that just wouldn't go away. So they needed to take supplementation, Dawes.
Mhm.
What would you suggest? Like what I obviously this is not health advice for anyone. We're just having a chat. We're just trying to work things out, and they should go to a professional and get their blood tests done first. But what would you suggest with supplementation?
Look, it's very hard to give a number, in all
Mm.
honesty. There's lots of different research about should you give it to someone monthly, should you give it to them bi-monthly, every day. For someone who, you could start at, say, 1,000 IUs. It depends how deficient they are. If you've got someone on a level of 17,
What? Does that exist?
yeah,
Mm.
yes, I have heard of one person being on a level of 17. Yep,
Oh my goodness.
yep. You want to start them up a bit higher, maybe on the 5,000 IUs, but you really need to look at their skin. You need to, I mean, it's always better to advise that they go outside
Yeah.
and spend half an hour first thing in the morning when they get up instead of being on their phone. That's always going to be the preference. So
Mm.
it is really, really hard. I mean, the way we work is work with lifestyle, work with diet. And if that's just not going to work, if it is someone in the UK in the middle of winter, we need to look at their colour of their skin. We need to, yeah, you'd probably start maybe at 5,000 for someone who is very deficient. But it's on a case-by-case basis because there's all different types of vitamin D as well. There's the calciferol, but there's a new one, calciferdiol, which is more readily absorbed, and you need to give a lot less than the
Right.
original one. So there's lots of different forms coming out. So it's very hard to say which one and how.
And then they also say include vitamin K. So if you're not eating green leafy vegetables, a lot of the supplements will have the K with it. So that helps with the absorption, taking it out of systemic. So making sure that it gets into the bones rather than staying systemic into your organs.
Right. And also I've heard it needs magnesium as well.
That's right.
The
Yeah.
combination. And it's a fatty,
It's a steroid hormone.
yeah, so it needs
Fat
if
to
you
absorb
take
it.
yeah, you need a
Yeah.
fatty sort of like avocado or eggs to sort of absorb it. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, because it's fat soluble. If you're having fat in your diet and you're taking a supplement, it's best to take it with something that's fatty because it's going to absorb. Because you're taking a supplement and it's not naturally in food, then you need that food to help absorb it.
Right. Okay. So I think that's all I had was the problems with absorption, but we've already mentioned that, which we sort of mentioned with you, Dawes, when women have belly fat,
Yeah.
but it's also if men are overweight,
Oh, yes,
they
definitely.
can't
Definitely.
absorb it as well. It gets attracted into the belly weight and doesn't
Exactly.
absorb. So that's the major thing. So
Yeah.
I also wanted to quickly talk about sunscreen because Doreen knows this about me because I'm fair as anything. I used to put on so much sunblock. It was ridiculous. And now I'm looking in the research and trying to question sunblock. Like the Cancer Council came out and they said 4 of their sunblocks they're taking off the shelves because the chemicals in it are not great. So what would you suggest for people to get out in the sun, first of all, to get vitamin D? It's so important to heal, to get this miracle sort of vitamin, without putting this commercial like rubbish on them.
Toxins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not trying to be controversial, but I think it's worse for you to put this stuff on. So
Well,
what do you think?
Well, the thing is, anything that you put on your skin, if it's not natural, has to go through your liver. So that's going to create a toxin, that's going to create oxidative stress. So you're going to cause issues. So the best way for someone is probably to go out in the sun early in the morning. Don't go at midday and lie sunbake in the sun.
I won't.
No, don't do that.
Remember how red I got?
Yes. So don't do that. So I would recommend go out in the sun early. Don't go out in the middle of the day. Try and find, if you need to find a sunscreen, try and find one that's more organic or natural. And it is a balance, isn't it?
Mm.
I mean, we have got a lot of skin cancers around, a lot of people with BCCs. So it is a bit of a balance, but you have to go out in the morning or go out late in the afternoon.
So
Yeah.
And with the sunscreens, you can get a zinc, which is natural. So that will help protect you from sunburn and the UV rays. And also I've heard coconut oil, which I've used before, and that's worked for me. But I suppose, as Dawn said, like, go out in the morning and maybe try and expose your stomach and your forearms then out into the sun. And that's going to help absorb that vitamin D without burning. And in the middle of the day, cover up, like put a shirt on, put a hat on. Yes, and use the natural products rather than the sunscreens with the heavy toxins in them.
Would reef oil be considered a
toxin?
A toxin, Tanya?
Reef oil, I haven't looked what was in it. Last time I used it, I was a teenager. So
what is it?
You'll have to show me next time we're down the beach.
I will.
Like coconut oil?
I think, well, it smells like Malibu sort of, doesn't it?
It's got coconut in it. So maybe that's what the 15% UV protection is, the coconut in there.
Maybe that's it. We'll check it. We'll check it in the middle of summer when we're lying out in the sun.
Yeah.
I'm not lying in the sun, only in the morning. Yes, and also when I was looking through all this vitamin D thing, which really surprised me, is from the 50s till 2020, like skin cancers have increased by 2000%. And like a lot of the theories now, and I'm not saying that they're absolutely correct, but it's also what you're ingesting as well, what you're eating, and makes you more susceptible to those things. And I actually saw something and I was like, that can't be true, but it is true. And I was one of those people that was like, okay, it was a huge thing to do celery juice. Did you do? Yeah. So juice your celery, like lots of celery in the morning, drink it before you eat anything, and it cleanses you and stuff. But lots of celery makes you more susceptible to get burnt.
Oh, really?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
So it's called something celery dermatitis or something. So if you eat, have a lot of juicing, like this woman had juiced a lot, she got really burnt. So different foods actually make you more susceptible to the sun and getting these skin cancers. Like it's a perfect storm. And seed oils is the other.
Yeah. And they say, like, don't quote me on this, but I've heard also that consuming a lot of vegetable oils, you're inflaming your body, and that's going to cause more chance of cancer than getting natural rays from the sun if you're not excessively in the sun. So like, it's all about moderation, like what you said before with the celery juice. Like, yeah, have it in moderation. Don't go extreme, and
Mm.
you're going to have those issues, are you? But our diet these days is so heavily with vegetable oils, and it causes so much inflammation and cancer. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
probably a lot of people aren't eating as many vegetables and fruits and whole grain foods compared to the 50s. So that's probably, there's a lot more processed food out there now.
Yeah. So there's more oxidative stress, and then that's going to contribute to cancer.
Yeah.
Mm.
And more gut issues. So you're not absorbing any of these nutrients, they're not going in. So it's
Yeah.
probably a whole round robin, I'd say.
Well, these seed oils apparently like just rip your gut through, and that's also doing with the gut issues at the moment, which is a huge thing. Like if you can sort of try and seal your gut and your intestines and make them, you know, perform better. But someone told me years ago, and it's so true, if you only walk around the edges of the supermarket, don't go into the aisles, you'll be much healthier. You know, like the vegetable,
yeah,
fresh produce,
you
and
should go, don't go to, you know, and then
all the packaged stuff.
yeah,
yeah,
that's
all
true.
the packaged stuff has a lot of soy in it, and you know, it's can be damaging to younger people especially.
Oh, it depends on, the manufactured soy, yes.
Yeah,
Natural
not
soy,
that.
fermented soy is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if I should tell my little story about scurvy, should I?
Yes.
Yeah, go.
Yes, tell us. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to get everyone critically thinking and trying to think outside the box is I sort of had a moment of clarity when I was doing this, the vitamin D deep dive, is years and years ago, people thought scurvy, like they actually got it from each other, got that sickness from each other. So, you know, when one person got scurvy, they'd put them down in the, you know, the hull of the ship and try and isolate them. But then they found that it was a vitamin C deficiency. So once they got that actually under control with the sailors, it was fine. It wasn't contagious. It was just a vitamin E deficiency. So I was thinking, in winter, are we dealing with a vitamin D deficiency?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, I suppose, if you are low during summer, then during winter, you're definitely going to be even lower because you're not getting sunlight. Like it will store in your body for 3 months, but if you're deficient to start with, then
But is that why we're getting, because I'm trying to do this terrain theory thing, is that why we're getting colds and flus? And it tends to be within households, because if I'm vitamin D deficient, probably the kids are too, because I'm not eating the right things, I'm not giving it to my kids or my husband. So we're not contagious as such, we're just vitamin D deficient.
But you're also it's a lifestyle thing. So if you're always staying at home and all your kids are playing computer games, because that's what they all do now, and no one goes out of the house. So say the parents, say you and you didn't go out. Your kids are going to see that and not go out.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a nurture, that nature versus nurture, really, isn't it? So it's not as if...
Could it be terrain? That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Could it be? So we're not catching colds from each other as such. We're just vitamin D deficient.
I don't think it's just vitamin D. I think if you're just at home all the time, it means you're not exercising, you're not going out, you're probably not eating a rainbow of foods. So it's probably a whole package. I don't think you can just say it's one vitamin that you would be deficient in.
I don't know, something to
I don't
think
know.
about. I don't know either.
But you would be more susceptible if you, had low vitamin D. So,
Yeah, susceptible to everything, right? Because your immune
Yes.
system's going down.
yes,
So
it's not functioning.
toxins, parasites.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just interesting. Think of it a little bit differently. And I wish I wish the health department, like, we would get that would be a priority. Like, let's test people's vitamin D and let's get it up, or,
Yeah,
not-
just
yeah,
get some awareness out there.
yeah.
yeah.
Sorry,
But
Jen.
doctors won't. The thing is, Medicare have cracked down on a lot of GPs because the amount of times that GPs have been asking for vitamin D on the blood test has increased so much that Medicare have cracked down on them. So if you want vitamin D, it depends on your doctor.
Yeah.
But sometimes you may have to pay for that particular test.
Which would be worth it when it comes to your health, though, wouldn't it?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But if someone can't afford it and
Mm.
someone just genuinely wants to find out the status of where they are health-wise, and then they have to pay for this test, I mean,
Crazy. It's going to cost the healthcare system more in the long run if
Yes.
people had been tested and there are optimal ranges. There's going to be less illnesses, so it's crazy.
but then, yeah, and I agree. But you look at our whole medical system anyway now, you look at all these people with heart disease, diabetes. I mean, that's a real pandemic. That's where we've got serious issues.
Yeah.
And if we were to look at all of that, test vitamin D, check other nutrients, maybe subsidize people who can't afford it with fruit and vegetables,
Yeah.
really look at the whole process, we'd be saving billions of dollars on the healthcare system.
100%. And then people would be happier.
Yes.
Like, that's my problem. Like, just digging into this vitamin D, like, I knew it was important, but I didn't know how important it was. And just, people could go through gaps of sadness and just know, I don't know what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
They could just get their vitamin D level up, and it might not, but that should be the first port of call, don't you think?
Yeah, and it's such a simple fix, like just get some more sunlight.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't have to have all these people suffer. Sorry.
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
no. And it's just like the blue light, people don't understand that it just really wrecks your circadian rhythm. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So just things like that. That's what we should have on TV for the ads.
Yes.
What's your vitamin D level? Go and
Yes.
check it.
I thought you were going to say about the blue light, but then people won't be watching TV.
Yeah, no,
They won't want that.
that's true. That's what we should have on the ads, is like, winter's coming. What's your vitamin D level? Go and check it. But as you said, Dawes, a long time ago, we have a sick care system.
Not a healthcare system.
And we have
Definitely a sick care system.
And that's what I want to change. I want to change that people understand how important these things are. And Tanya, you were saying, you really obsessed with changing children's health, which I think is.
Yeah, it's so important. Like, they're our next generation. We need to educate them on health. I know it comes from the parents, but if we can start educating in childcare centres and in school, I think it's very important to help them so they don't suffer. Like, there's so many of them suffering from anxiety and depression from a young age. What is that? Yeah. So if we can optimize their health and so they don't suffer from all these illnesses and diseases that we have, I think it's so important.
And also it's generational theft, isn't it? Because if the mother's not eating well, the baby doesn't, get to the optimum health. And then it's just generational, bad health. So if we can get to the kids and sort of change their mind.
Yes.
And I think it's just better for the nation.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Something I want to do, hopefully I'll get round to it. I'd love to do a PhD on how much we would save the healthcare system if we looked at results and looked at people before they became sick. Imagine how much we would save the whole Medicare system, the whole health system.
And do more research on why this happens. Like why do people get cancer? And cut it off before it happens.
Yeah.
Like, we still really don't know. Like, we can guess, bad health, smoking, blah, 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 toxins.
Stress is a big one. Stress, inflammation, oxidative stress, that all of those, if you look, inflammation, I think I read it causes about 70% of all diseases
Okay.
affected by inflammation.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a lot. If we were to go right back, and if you looked at, like, say, when you get your blood test, if you are at the high end or the low end of a range, question that. So if you're one off from the highest range, that's becoming a problem. Don't just look at it when it's gone over one side or the other. It's too late then, or not too late, but you're making it harder
to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
So Doz, what is happening with you? Are you still making your syrup, or?
Look, I haven't done that much lately. I've just been concentrating on my studies, I have to say, mainly.
Okay.
So I'll be finished in May. So I do make some hand cream and some muscle balm. I haven't been making the syrup as much, mainly because we eat quite well here.
Yeah.
So I haven't been doing that. And I'm just, so I'm really looking forward to being able to finish and getting in my herbs and making proper herbal tonics for people to get them through these difficult times. But the way I look at things, it's really looking at the cause and not just, it's not a systematic approach. It's looking at how can we fix someone and find out what's happening so they don't continually get sick.
And are you doing Reiki?
Yes, so I've just graduated with my Reiki too. So I will be, you'll be seeing me advertising for Reiki sessions.
Okay, so I'll put it in the description box how are you going to take bookings?
We're not sure yet. I think it'll be word of mouth at the moment.
What about just giving, putting your email?
My email or my Insta page.
Okay.
Yep. So, my clinic is just about finished. Hopefully curtains get put up tomorrow.
So excited.
It's very exciting, yes.
And
Tanya, are you still, I'm using your underarm. It's so good.
Oh, fantastic. Excellent. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah.
Yes, we're making the deodorant. So that's all toxin free. It's got no aluminium, and it's got some healing herbs in there with calendula, jojoba oil and coconut oil. So it's very nourishing and healing. And still making the serum as well. So that's an organic vitamin serum that you can use on your face or your skin. And that's got healing herbs in there as well.
I use that every morning.
It's nice, isn't it? It smells so good.
Oh, thank you.
And where can people, are you selling it? Or?
Yes. So it's just word of mouth and on my Instagram page. So I still haven't done, same as Doreen, like I've just been busy with study. So I've got 12 months to go. We're just about to start back on Monday. So that's exciting.
I just got you before you get busy again.
Yes. Then we're out of control for 12 weeks.
Yeah, it's crazy. So
I would love to do a mind body one if you have a little time, and about how it can affect you. And
it's all connected, isn't it?
Sorry, what was that?
The gut brain connection.
No, and also just how
energetically.
Yeah, just everything.
Like how you think, what you say, it affects your body. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And the power of the mind, it's so incredible.
Mm.
I'm just reading a book now by Dr. Joe Dispenza on placebo effect, and it is fascinating. I've
Yes.
just started. It is amazing. Some people have been given a placebo, like they might have a tumor and they're given a placebo drug, but they're told that this is the wonder drug and it's going to clear their tumors. And they believe it,
Yeah,
gone. It's amazing.
that's amazing.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I'd like to, yeah, if you've got time.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, well, thank you so
Good.
much. I really
Thanks,
enjoyed
Sonia.
the
Thank
discussion.
you.
And
Yes, it's been good.
Yeah.
hopefully to everyone listening, I always stop it and hang up on them. So let's see. I did. Okay.